AITA for moving out without telling my girlfriend after she went to comfort her ex? This happened 6 months ago, and I am finally ready to share this absolute masterclass in how not to take your boyfriend for granted. My girlfriend thought she could play games with her ex and me, while I kept a massive career opportunity a secret. Turns out, I am better at keeping secrets than she thought. Buckle up. I am 32, and my girlfriend, Mia, was 29. She and I had been together for 2.5 years. I met her at my friend Parker's housewarming party. She was beautiful in that effortless way some women are, with dark, shoulder-length hair that was always perfectly styled, bright green eyes, and a smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. Her laugh was contagious, and she had this way of making even mundane activities fun. A trip to the grocery store with Mia involved detours to try free samples, commenting on weird product names, and somehow always taking twice as long. For the first year and a half, things were genuinely great. We had complementary schedules. I worked Monday through Friday. She often had evening events for her clients, so we spent most weekends together. She would stay at my place from Friday to Sunday, and we had fallen into comfortable routines. Saturday morning coffee at a small spot in the Hawthorne district, elaborate breakfasts cooked together, and binge-watching entire seasons of shows while cuddled up on my couch. Mia fit in perfectly with my group of friends. She was sociable enough to hold her own at parties, but not so extroverted that she dominated conversations. My friends really liked her, which had been an issue with previous girlfriends. My sister liked her too, which was huge. She had disapproved of every woman I had dated since college, but Mia actually made an effort to build a relationship with her. But there were signs I probably should have paid more attention to. Mia had this way of deflecting conversations when they got too serious about our future. Not in an obvious way. She would just change the subject or make jokes whenever I brought up things like moving in together or meeting our extended families. When I mentioned the possibility of her meeting my grandparents during their Christmas visit, she suddenly remembered she had promised to help a friend that same weekend. She also gradually developed a strange relationship with her phone. At first, she was like anyone else. She would check it occasionally, answer texts, and post an Instagram story. But over time, it became more central to her life. She started placing her phone face down during dinner conversations, taking it into the bathroom with her, and sleeping with it on the nightstand instead of leaving it to charge in the living room as she used to. When I brought up the phone thing once, she laughed it off, saying she was addicted to doom scrolling and was trying to be more present. She even downloaded one of those screen time tracking apps and showed me how she was working on cutting back. It seemed reasonable enough. Everyone struggles with phone addiction these days. The ex-boyfriend situation was something I knew about from the beginning of our relationship. His name was Preston. Mia had dated him for about 3 years in her mid-20s and had broken up with him about 8 months before she met me. It was a standard story. According to her, he wanted to focus on his career and was not ready for a serious commitment. Mia told me they had remained friends, which I was fine with. I am not the jealous type, and plenty of mature adults maintain healthy friendships with their exes. She mentioned him occasionally, almost always in the context of their shared friend group or a funny anecdote from college. He was a freelance graphic designer, traveled a lot for work, and from what I could gather, lived a pretty unstable lifestyle. What I did not know at the time was how regularly they were still communicating. The first real red flag came about 8 months ago when Mia started getting emotional phone calls that she would take in another room. I would be cooking or watching TV, and her phone would ring. She would glance at it. A certain look would cross her face, and she would excuse herself to go to the bedroom or even step outside the apartment if she was at my place. When I asked if everything was okay, she would come back looking emotionally drained and explain that Preston was going through a tough time. First, it was work stress. Freelancing was unpredictable. He was struggling to find consistent clients and was considering getting a stable job. Then it was family drama. His parents were getting a divorce after 30 years of marriage, and he was stuck in the middle trying to mediate their financial disputes. He doesn't really have anyone else to talk to about this stuff, Mia would explain when I found her looking upset after these calls. His other friends are either friends with his parents or they don't understand the struggles of the creative industry. I feel bad just cutting him off when he is clearly having a hard time. Like the supportive boyfriend I thought I was, I accepted that explanation. Everyone needs support sometimes, right? And Mia was naturally empathetic. One of the things I loved most about her was how much she cared about people's problems and how she always wanted to help if she could. But the calls became more frequent and longer. Mia would disappear for 30 or 45 minutes, returning visibly exhausted. It started happening several times a week, often during the limited time we had together on weekends. I would plan a nice Saturday afternoon, a hike, or a trip to the farmer's market, and we would end up cutting it short because Preston needed to process some crisis. When I gently suggested that maybe Preston should talk to a therapist or other friends about his issues, Mia got defensive in a way that surprised me. "You don't understand the situation," she said, with more of an edge to her voice than I had ever heard. "I know him better than anyone. These are not generic problems a therapist can help with. I can help him in ways others cannot because I understand his history and his personality." That should have been my cue to have a serious conversation about boundaries and priorities. But I let it go. The classic mistake a lot of guys make. We avoid conflict even when our gut is screaming that something is wrong. Right around the time these crisis management sessions with Preston started to escalate, I got a call that would end up changing everything. My old colleague, Jace, who had moved to Austin about 2 years prior, reached out about an opportunity at his new company. "Logan, you have to hear about this role. We're building a new cybersecurity division from the ground up, and they want someone with your exact experience to come in as the lead engineer. You would basically be building the team, choosing the tech stack, and setting the direction for the department." Jace had been my cubicle mate, and we had stayed in touch. He was now a senior developer at a fintech startup that had just landed a huge Series B funding round and was expanding fast. "What kind of money are we talking about?" I asked. "A base salary of $135,000 plus stock options that could be worth a lot if we hit our growth targets. They will also cover all relocation expenses and give you a $10,000 signing bonus." "Logan, this is the kind of role you have been working towards your whole career. $135,000 plus equity in Austin, where the cost of living was lower than in Portland. It was the kind of opportunity that comes along maybe once a decade. What's the timeline?" I asked, trying to hide my excitement. "They want to move fast. If you are interested, they would want you here in about 6 weeks. I know, it is quick, but they are scaling aggressively and want their security lead in place before they start onboarding enterprise clients." I told Jace I would think about it, but honestly, I was already 90% sold. This was not just a job change, it was a complete life upgrade. Austin had a vibrant tech scene, better weather than Portland, live music, amazing food, and the career opportunity was exactly what I had been building towards since the start of my career. The only question was how to tell Mia and what this would mean for our relationship. That night at dinner, I decided to test the waters. Mia was scrolling through her phone while eating the pasta I had made, which had become her standard behavior. "Got an interesting call today," I said casually. "Remember Jace from my old job? He is living in Austin now." She looked up briefly. "Oh, cool. He called me about a career opportunity. Pretty major role, a big step up for my career." "Cool," she said, her eyes drifting back to her phone. I waited for her to ask questions. "Where? What kind of role? What would it mean for us?" Nothing. Just the soft glow of her screen on her face as she double-tapped Instagram stories. "It's in Austin," I continued, probing to see if she was even listening. "It would be a pretty big move, but the professional opportunity is incredible." She nodded absently, still scrolling. "Austin seems fun. They want an answer soon," I said, watching her face for any reaction. "It's the kind of opportunity that could really set us up for a good financial future." "Yeah, whatever you think is best," she murmured, not looking up. That conversation, or rather the lack of it, told me everything I needed to know about Mia's priorities. I was trying to discuss a potentially life-altering decision that would affect us both, and she could not even put her phone down for 5 minutes to engage with the topic. But instead of confronting her about the disrespect, I just filed that moment away in my memory and finished my dinner in silence. Over the next week, I did a deep dive into the Austin opportunity while Mia continued to run her emotional support hotline for Preston. The company, Nexus Financial Technologies, had its act together: a solid leadership team, real venture capital backing, and a growing client base of regional banks and credit unions. The role Jace described was exactly what I had been working towards: the chance to build something from scratch with a real budget and authority. Jace sent me the formal offer, and it was everything he had promised and more. The stock package alone could be worth hundreds of thousands if the company went public or got acquired. The health benefits were better than what I had. They would even cover my moving expenses up to $15,000. The deadline to sign was in 3 weeks. I decided I would wait for the right moment to have a serious conversation with Mia about it. Maybe when she was not distracted, when we could really talk about what it would mean for our relationship and how we could make it work. That moment never came. Instead, I got the text message that would make the decision for me. It was a Thursday night in mid-March. I was at home working on a freelance security audit project to make some extra cash when my phone buzzed at 8:47 p.m. At Preston's tonight. He is going through a really rough time and needs someone to talk to face-to-face. Do not get insecure about this. I am just being a good friend helping someone in crisis. I will probably stay here because it is late and he is really not doing well. Love you. I read that message 4 times, each reading making me angrier. She was going to spend the night at her ex-boyfriend's house and was preemptively telling me not to be insecure about it. The casual dismissal of my feelings was breathtaking. The assumption that I would just accept this without question showed how little she respected me as a partner. I typed and deleted about 15 different replies. Part of me wanted to call her immediately and ask her what the hell she was thinking. Part of me wanted to drive to Preston's house and make a scene. But then I remembered my dad's advice about quiet strength, and a different plan began to form in my mind. Instead of reacting emotionally, I replied, "Take all the time you need." She probably thought I was being the supportive, understanding boyfriend. In reality, I was being strategic. If Mia wanted to prioritize her ex-boyfriend's emotional needs over our relationship, she was free to do so. But she would be doing it without me waiting in the wings to provide financial and emotional support when Preston inevitably let her down. I opened my laptop and pulled up the offer email from Jace. 3 weeks to decide. Perfect. I drafted my acceptance email, scheduled it to send on Friday morning, and began planning the most efficient exit strategy possible. The next 12 hours were the most focused and productive of my entire adult life. First, I called Jace from my bedroom, keeping my voice low even though Mia was not there to hear. "I am taking the job," I told him. "How soon can I start?" "Seriously, man, that is awesome. They are going to be thrilled. How soon can you get down here?" "What if I told you I could be there next Tuesday?" Jace laughed. "I would say you are either incredibly efficient or you are running from something serious. But honestly, they would love for you to start that soon if you can swing it. Let's do it." Next, I started researching moving companies that specialized in last-minute corporate relocations. It turned out there were several firms in Portland that handled emergency moves for executives and professionals who needed to relocate quickly. For the right price, about $3,500, they could have a crew at my apartment on Saturday morning and my things delivered to Austin by Wednesday. I spent the rest of Thursday night and all of Friday systematically planning my exit. I made lists of everything in the apartment, sorting items into clearly mine, clearly Mia's, and jointly purchased. My electronics, books, the kitchen gadgets I had bought, my tools, my winter gear, the art I had collected, all of it was coming with me to Texas. The furniture we had bought together, the decorative items she had picked out, the expensive coffee maker she insisted we needed, the fancy dinnerware set we chose, all of it would stay. I was not interested in fighting over material things or taking anything that would give her ammunition to claim I had robbed her. On Friday morning, I sent my formal acceptance for the Austin role and gave my 2 weeks' notice at my current job. My manager, Lydia, was disappointed but understood, especially when I offered to work remotely during the transition period and help train my replacement. "It sounds like an amazing opportunity," she said in our meeting. "We are going to miss you here, but honestly, I am excited to see what you will do in a leadership role. You have earned it." I also called a friend in real estate to ask about breaking my lease early. It turned out I could pay a 2-month penalty and be free and clear immediately, which was a small price to pay for the clean break I wanted. Mia texted me on Friday afternoon. Still at Preston's helping him process everything. He is in a really bad emotional state, worse than I thought. I might need to stay the whole weekend to make sure he does not do anything drastic. You are the best for being so understanding about this. I replied, "Focus on what you need to do. I will handle things on my end." She probably interpreted that as me taking care of household chores while she played therapist to her ex-boyfriend. In reality, I was systematically dismantling our shared life and preparing to disappear from her world completely. On Saturday morning, the moving crew arrived at my apartment at 8 a.m. sharp. A professional team of 4 men who had clearly done plenty of emergency relocations. They packed and loaded my entire life onto the truck in under 5 hours, working with the efficiency of people who understand that time is money. I was left with only the essentials: a backpack with my laptop and work materials, a suitcase of clothes for the drive to Austin, toiletries, and a small cooler with snacks for the road. Everything else went on the moving truck to be delivered to a storage unit in Austin until I found a permanent apartment. Before I left Portland for the last time, I sat at my now empty kitchen counter and wrote Mia a letter. It was not emotional or angry. It was just factual and final. Mia, I have accepted a position in Austin and have relocated immediately. This decision is not specifically about Preston or Thursday night, but about our clear differences in priorities and visions for what a relationship should be. Your belongings are untouched, and you are welcome to stay in the apartment until the end of the lease, which is paid through next month. I have spoken to the landlord about transferring the lease solely into your name. The paperwork is on the counter next to this letter. The utilities will remain active until the end of March. I wish you the best in figuring out what you want from your life and your relationships. I left my key on top of the letter and walked out of that building for the last time, carrying only my backpack and suitcase. The drive to Austin took 19 hours with stops for gas and food. I drove straight through, fueled by adrenaline and the absolute clarity that comes when you make a decision you know deep down is the right one. I listened to podcasts about entrepreneurship and leadership, planning how I would approach building the cybersecurity team from the ground up. I checked into a hotel in downtown Austin on Sunday night, had dinner at a barbecue joint Jace recommended, and went to bed early, ready for my first day at Nexus Financial Technologies. On Monday morning, I walked into a gleaming office building in Austin's tech corridor, took the elevator to the 15th floor, and began the next chapter of my professional life. The office was exactly as Jace had described: a modern space, state-of-the-art tech, and a team of genuinely smart people who were excited about growing the company. My new boss, Sophie, gave me a full tour and made introductions to the engineering team, product managers, and the executives I would be working with regularly. We have been waiting for the right person to lead our security initiative, she said as she finished the orientation. Jace raved about your technical skills and work ethic, and honestly, we are thrilled you were able to start so quickly. Most candidates at your level would need months to transition. The work was immediately stimulating in a way my Portland job had not been in years. Real problems to solve, a budget to hire more staff, a modern tech stack that was not constrained by legacy systems. It felt like coming home professionally after years of feeling restricted by corporate bureaucracy. On Tuesday night, as I was settling into my hotel room and browsing for apartments, my phone started ringing. Mia's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. Then she called again and again. Over the next 48 hours, Mia left me 17 voicemails and sent dozens of increasingly desperate texts. I did not reply to any of them, but I listened to every message as they became progressively more unhinged. The progression was a fascinating study in the psychology of someone realizing they have made a catastrophic mistake. Confusion. Logan, I came home, and all your stuff is gone. There is a letter on the counter, but I do not understand what it means. Call me immediately. Denial. Obviously, this is some kind of joke or a misunderstanding. Very funny. Now call me so we can talk about this like adults. Anger. Are you seriously just going to ghost me completely? This is the most immature, passive-aggressive thing I have ever seen. You cannot just disappear without an explanation. Bargaining. Okay, I get that you are upset about Preston. We can talk about boundaries and how I handled the situation. Just call me and tell me where you are so we can work this out. Depression. Logan, please. I do not understand what is happening or why you are doing this. I need you to explain it to me. I am scared and confused. I just need to hear your voice. By Thursday, she had apparently done some digging and figured out that I had actually moved. The messages turned more frantic and accusatory. You moved to Austin without telling me? What about us? What about our plans? You cannot just make unilateral life decisions like this. I called your office, and they said you do not work there anymore. Someone said you relocated for a new job. How long have you been planning this behind my back? You are blowing up our entire relationship over nothing. Preston is just a friend who needed emotional support. You know I love you." I did not respond to any of it. What was there to say? She demonstrated through her actions that I was not a priority in her life. I simply responded by making her no longer a priority in mine. The situation was perfectly symmetrical. On Friday afternoon, my new colleague Miles and I were grabbing coffee when my phone rang for the umpteenth time that week. Mia's name, as always. Miles glanced at my screen with a knowing look. "Girlfriend." "Ex-girlfriend," I corrected. "She is having a hard time accepting that the relationship is over." He nodded sympathetically. "Austin is a great city for a fresh start. Trust me, I moved here after my divorce 2 years ago. Best decision I ever made." That night, I finally listened to Mia's latest voicemail, the longest and most telling one yet. "Logan, I went by your old office. They confirmed you took a job in Austin and moved. I cannot believe you were planning this behind my back for who knows how long. How could you not tell me something so important? I thought we were partners. I thought we told each other everything that mattered. This is honestly the most hurtful, deceptive thing anyone has ever done to me. I spend one night at Preston's house to help a friend through a real crisis, and you respond by secretly blowing up our relationship and disappearing across the country. We need to talk about this like rational adults. Call me." The complete lack of self-awareness was astounding. She was framing herself as the victim of my deception because I did not tell her about a career opportunity that she completely ignored when I tried to bring it up. She spent the night at another man's house and was still genuinely hurt that I was not available to discuss it on her timeline afterward. I blocked her number and deleted her contact. The next few weeks in Austin were a whirlwind of settling in, diving into the new job, and establishing routines in an unfamiliar city. I found a great apartment in South Austin, within walking distance of cafes and restaurants. Jace introduced me to his social circle, a mix of tech professionals, musicians, and creatives who embody Austin's vibrant culture. I started playing pickup basketball on Saturday mornings with coworkers, discovered amazing food trucks, and began exploring the music scene the city was famous for. Life was objectively better in every measurable way. Meanwhile, Mia was apparently not handling the transition to single life well. Jace's girlfriend, Ella, was still connected to our old Portland social circle and kept Jace updated on the local drama through mutual friends. According to Ella, Mia was telling everyone who would listen that I had abandoned her without warning, leaving her high and dry with the rent and bills. She was painting herself as the innocent victim of my cruel and cowardly behavior, conveniently omitting the part about spending nights at her ex-boyfriend's house. She has been posting all this cryptic stuff on Instagram about betrayal and trust, Ella told Jace during one of their calls. But a few people are starting to ask why Logan would just leave so suddenly. Word is getting around that she was spending time at her ex's place. The social media drama was entirely predictable. Mia had always been someone who processed her emotions publicly, seeking validation and sympathy from her extensive social network. I did not check her profiles. I had blocked those too. But apparently, she was working overtime to control the narrative. About 6 weeks after my move, Jace called me with an update that made me actually laugh out loud. "Remember Preston? The ex she was supposedly helping through a crisis? Turns out he was not going through any work or family problems. He was trying to get back together with her the whole time, using fake problems as an excuse to get her attention and sympathy. When he saw she was still committed to you, he lost interest in her emotional support. Now she is dealing with rejection on both fronts." The poetic justice was beautiful. Mia had sacrificed our relationship to be Preston's unpaid therapist, only to find out he was manipulating her emotions to try and rekindle their romance. And when that strategy failed, he moved on to other options, leaving her exactly how she left me, alone and confused about what happened. "She has been calling everyone trying to get your new number," Jace continued. "She told Ella she desperately needs to apologize and explain everything, that she wants to fix things and rebuild what you had." "And what did you tell Ella to tell her?" "That you are thriving in Austin and that she should focus on rebuilding her own life instead of trying to resurrect something she killed herself. Some bridges cannot be unburned." 3 months into my Austin adventure, I was hitting my stride, both professionally and personally. The cybersecurity team I was building was coming together beautifully. We had hired 2 more engineers and a security analyst, and were making great progress on our first major client implementation. My boss was already talking about expansion plans and additional budget allocation for the next fiscal year. On a personal level, I had started casually dating for the first time in years. Nothing serious yet, just meeting people and rediscovering what it felt like to talk to someone who actually puts their phone away during dinner. It is amazing how much more enjoyable social interactions become when the other person is genuinely present. One Saturday morning after basketball, my coworker Riley invited me to a barbecue at his place in the Zilker neighborhood. It is a low-key thing, good people and good food. You should come. I almost said no. I was not quite in full-on social mode yet, but something told me to go. It turned out to be one of the best decisions I had made since moving to Austin. That is where I met Aaron. Aaron Rodriguez, 28, a veterinarian, was Riley's next-door neighbor. She had moved from Chicago 18 months prior to work at a specialty animal hospital. Brunette, with an easy smile, she was the kind of person who could strike up a conversation with anyone about anything and make it genuinely interesting. We ended up talking for over 2 hours about everything: travel, career fulfillment, and the best coffee shops in the city. She had even lived in Portland for a year during vet school, so we compared notes on the Pacific Northwest versus Texas. "I love how you actually listen when people talk," she told me as the gathering was winding down. It is becoming a rare quality these days. The contrast with Mia could not have been more stark. Erin put her phone away when we started talking and did not check it once during our entire conversation. She asked thoughtful follow-up questions. She seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me as a person, not just making superficial small talk. When I mentioned I was relatively new to Austin, she immediately started recommending restaurants, not in a pushy way, but with the enthusiasm of someone who truly loves her adopted city and wants others to experience it. We exchanged numbers and made plans to get coffee. The following week, for months after I left Mia, I was living the life I had not realized I had been working towards for years. A challenging job that utilized my skills, a growing bank account, interesting romantic prospects, and absolutely zero emotional drama. The peace of mind was genuinely intoxicating. No walking on eggshells around someone's emotional volatility. No wondering if my girlfriend was prioritizing another man's needs over our relationship. That is when Mia managed to find my new address. I came home from work on a Thursday afternoon to find her sitting in the lobby of my high-rise apartment building, looking like she had been crying for several hours. The security guard looked concerned and somewhat uncomfortable. "She said she was your fiancé and that there was a family emergency," he explained when he saw me. I was just about to call the police for a wellness check. Mia stood up when she saw me, and I could tell immediately that she had lost a lot of weight. Her usual polished appearance was completely gone. Her clothes were wrinkled like she had slept in them, her hair was unwashed, and she had dark circles under her eyes that no amount of makeup could cover. "Logan, please. I drove all the way here from Portland. I need to talk to you face to face." The sheer audacity was stunning. She had driven 2,000 miles to ambush me at my new home, simply because I was not responding to her calls and texts. "There is nothing to talk about, Mia. You made your choices. I made mine. I made a terrible mistake." Preston completely manipulated the situation. He told me he was having suicidal thoughts, that he needed me to be with him that night, or he might hurt himself. What was I supposed to do? Ignore someone threatening their own life? This was new information, but it did not change the fundamentals. What you were supposed to do was communicate with your boyfriend instead of sending a condescending text telling me not to be insecure about you spending the night at your ex's house. I was trying to protect you, to keep you from worrying about something that was completely innocent. I thought if I handled it quickly and came back the next day, we could move past it without any drama. By hiding the nature of the situation from me and dismissing my feelings preemptively, she started crying harder, the kind of desperate sobs that draw the attention of everyone in a public space. I know I handled it badly, but Logan, you just disappeared. You moved across the country without telling me. How is that fair or proportional? I tried to tell you about the job opportunity. You were too busy scrolling on your phone to listen or engage in the conversation. Her face went completely blank. She clearly had no memory of that moment, which proved my point better than any argument I could make. "Mia, you consistently prioritized another man's emotional needs over our relationship, and then expected me to be waiting around while you figured out how you felt. I made the decision not to be anyone's backup plan or safety net. But I chose you. I left Preston's house the next morning. I chose our relationship. You chose me after you spent the weekend playing therapist to your ex-boyfriend. That is not choosing, Mia. That is settling for me when your first option did not pan out. I could see her mind processing that, realizing that I knew more about the situation with Preston than she had told me. Someone has been feeding you lies and misinformation about what happened between Preston and me. It does not matter what specifically happened with Preston. What matters is that when you had to choose between his emotional needs and our relationship, you chose him without hesitation. The details are irrelevant. She tried several more approaches over the next 20 minutes. Promises to change her communication style, accusations that I was being needlessly cruel, and threats to make a scene in the lobby. I remained calm but firm. Our relationship was over. She needed to go back to Portland and focus on rebuilding her life. Eventually, the security staff escorted her to her car in the parking garage. She drove away that night, and I never heard from her again. According to the few updates that trickle in from mutual friends, Mia moved back in with her parents in Portland after she could not afford the rent on her own. Preston never got back together with her. Apparently, he was just looking for an ego boost and opportunities for emotional manipulation, not a genuine relationship. Mia is still single, still posting cryptic messages about healing and self-love on social media, and from what I hear, still blaming me for how everything ended. Meanwhile, Aaron and I have been officially dating for 2 months. It is the healthiest, most respectful relationship I have ever been in. We communicate openly, we support each other's ambitions, and when we are together, we are actually together, not distracted by the digital world. I am building a team I am proud of, I am exploring a city I love, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I am exactly where I am supposed to be. Sometimes, the best way to fix a broken relationship is to leave it behind and build a new life from the wreckage. Mia thought she was playing a game she controlled, but she failed to realize that the most powerful move is sometimes just walking away from the board entirely. Comment. Looking back, the biggest lesson wasn't about getting even, but about choosing myself. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is quietly walk away from a table where respect is no longer being served. It's about having the courage to close one chapter so you can start writing a new one that truly makes you happy. Never forget your worth, and don't be afraid to build the life you deserve. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.